I have 50 grand for my down payment. Is that all we need, right?
That's what we're talking about today.
Welcome to the Utah Real Estate Show podcast, the show where two agents and a lender teach real estate best practices by talking through mistakes we've seen and made.
So prepaid costs, closing costs, minus deposits, cash to close.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Utah Real Estate Show. I am Tyler Kazare, Utah Real Estate Agent.
Jason Christiansen, mortgage lender.
Eric Wist, Utah Real Estate Agent.
In today's episode, we're talking about that age-old question of what the crap is a down payment versus what the crap are closing costs.
And they both comprise cash to close. Here is
They
where
are
the
not
problem.
the same. First of all, they are not the same.
That's right.
We should define them separately. So I'm representing a buyer, and a buyer says, hey, I've got $25,000 of hard-earned money that I have saved up. So I'm going to put a $25,000 deposit or down payment on a home.
Cool, great.
Yeah, that sounds good, right?
I like it.
So everything about that makes sense and is good. A down payment is, by
You need
definition,
a down payment. Yeah, $25,000, good 5% down, $500,000 home. Boom, you're done.
Yay, happy.
Well,
Except
and
you
then
can't
we
pay for the
send him
loan.
to the lender.
Uh-huh.
The lender talks to him, and a good lender is going to ask a little bit more questions than just that, because
So-
they're going to go, what?
My two first questions is, how much money do you have? And they'll say, I have this much for down payment. I said, that wasn't the question. How much money do you have? Beg, borrow, steal. What can you get your hands on? IRAs, 401ks, retirement accounts. How much money do you have?
Right, so we're going to take the same example, saved up in my buyer's checking account or savings account, whatever,
Okay.
liquid cash in their bank,
Okay.
they've got $25,000.
I like it.
Now, they also have $30,000 in a 401k,
Okay.
and they
Well,
have...
before we go that too far,
Trace that
I
down
want to
rabbit
go
hole.
back a little bit to Ding Dong Me, who doesn't have 401k, IRAs, stockbrokers, NFTs, cryptos. I don't have any of that like Scarf over here does. I have $25,000 in my savings account. That's what I have. I answered Jason's question. That's all I have. And he goes,
Cool.
Great. You can't do $25,000 as a down payment though. Well, most likely it's not going to happen as
Yeah.
a down payment.
Right.
And the reason is because it actually costs money to get a loan.
Yes.
Yeah, and it costs money not just to get a loan, but to get a home.
Right. Yep. There are costs associated with recording the property, with investigating the property.
Your first year homeowner's insurance policy.
Yeah.
HOA investment fees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now here's the thing. These are costs, the HOA investment fees, that are included in your cash to close. These aren't lender fees. These aren't realtor fees. This is money you have to come up with to buy the home. And so sometimes someone will come to me and be like, you're way too expensive. Like, my standard fees are $17.48. Which, I mean, if you want to put me up against some internet brokers, yeah, you're paying a little bit more. But it typically works out in the wash. Like, you pay a little more fees, your rate goes a little down, stuff like that. But so my fees are relatively inexpensive. But if they decide they want to insure the Mona Lisa or get flood insurance, I can't control how much they're paying for insurance. And this is a cost that needs to be paid to close.
Right. And because the lender issues the cost to close, it looks like the lender's gouging you.
Right.
But in reality, there's all these incidentals.
Discount points. There was that post that you shared with me
Yes.
a while ago that this lender's ripping me off because he had 2 discount points. Yeah, 2 discount points. That's a lot. But if someone says, I want a really low rate, and I say,
I need my
it will
payment
cost
to be
you-
this amount. Well,
Right.
I'm going to have to do these discount points in order to get my payment down to this amount.
And they say, yeah, that's what I want. And then I say, okay.
Yeah.
And then now my closing costs are $15,000 or $20,000.
Right.
It's
2% of the loan amount.
So let's take our example that we keep coming back to. Person comes with $25,000 only, no other like weird things in their accounts. They come with $25,000, but because of the nature of whatever their payments are or whatever, they need to have that payment down, and so they buy 2 discount points, and now they spend $18,000.
So they're getting a 0 down loan.
Yeah. Realistically, their down payment went from $25,000 if they're buying at par with no costs, that doesn't exist. Now there are costs associated with the loan, and especially these discount points. They spent $18,000, maybe $20,000 on all these incidentals. Their down payment is now $5,000, and they're spending $20,000 to get the loan. That's the difference between a down payment and closing costs.
Yeah. And then from there, that's when we take it to the next step further, is having and working with a good agent and a good lender. They're going to help juggle that and show you different options. They're not going to just say this is what you have to do. They're going to say, look, here's your options. We need to see which one is the best for you. Are you only planning on owning the home for a year and moving out, or 2 years and that's it? Right. Is this one that you're intended to be? Rate. Yeah. Are you? No. This is going to be. I'm going to be here for 15 years. We're set. We're here. Okay. Well, maybe now you want to buy down because it's a long-term thing of where you're going, and you're okay with that. We're going to present all these different options to show you what you can and can't do, because that's also going to change, one, how we structure an offer, because not too long ago we were able to get sellers to help pay those closing costs.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Right now in this market,
it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, you can try, but you better do some awesome stuff in order to get it. And it can happen, but most likely it's not. But that depends on, now it changes how and what house you're looking at. It may change if he's like, hey, your down payment goes from 25, actually your only down payment is going to be 10 grand. That changes your whole price of the house you can buy.
Exactly.
Huge price difference.
Yeah. So it's important to have this conversation with your lender.
Yeah.
Before you ever go out and start making offers on homes. Because if the lender knows that you need to buy discount points, for example, in order to afford something, he's not going to qualify that buyer up to $500,000. He may only qualify that buyer to $440,000 or
something different.
Whatever it is. Yeah, it's going to be less.
I want to hit definitions really, really quick.
Yes.
Okay. Cash to close is money that you need to come in with at closing. It can include closing costs. It can include prepaids. It doesn't include money you've already put down.
Mm-hmm.
So cash to close, closing costs, and prepaid costs are all different things that overlap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So total funds from borrower will include closing costs, which are money paid to something to get the loan done. Prepaid costs are money paid to someone who will do something. And then you take an aggregate of whatever's left minus whatever's put down.
Mm-hmm.
That's cash to close. So like your first year homeowner's insurance, people are like, well, I shouldn't need to pay for a policy next year because I already paid for it this year. No. You pay for the policy now. It covers forward for a year. We're going to take a 12th of that payment every month in escrow to pay for next year. So that's a prepaid cost. We're closing right now. It's the 7th. You're going to pay today through the end of the month. That's a prepaid cost, days of interest.
Gotcha.
So prepaid costs, closing costs, minus deposits, cash to close.
It was a great explanation, Jason, because that one's missed
all the time.
Mm-hmm. It's really frustrating on the agent too, especially when you're dealing with a buyer and a lender who's not explaining these things to them, because the lender just says, oh yeah, you're good for 500 grand. And they go, oh great, let's go look at them. And then I start asking more questions going, hey, we're actually looking at homes to buy. I don't have a pre-qualified letter. Okay, so now I have it. Then I call the lender. I always back call and say, hey, you went over all this? Oh no, I didn't go over it. I just gave them a pre-qualification of what they're good at. Well, did you talk to them about closing costs? No.
What about an HOA? What if there's transfer
What about
fees?
this? What about that? What about this? No. So that now $500,000 pre-qualification letter is down to 420, 450, 400. Or they can't even buy now.
Yeah. Plus you have to have a window in there for negotiating, because
appraisal gap. We haven't talked about that.
Yeah, that's a whole
blow
nother video.
People's brains.
Yeah. One more that I do want to slide in here that causes some confusion sometimes is the difference between, with earnest money.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have somebody who puts down in this market, it's one strategy to try to acquire a home to put down heavy earnest money. And so I recently had a buyer put down a pretty sizable, like over $20,000 earnest money deposit, and made it non-refundable after due diligence, which is awesome, right? They were able to get the property.
Yeah, it looks really good for the sellers, right? Oh yeah,
it does. It looks fantastic.
People are serious.
But then they immediately had this concern, like, oh no, I just gave them this huge sum of money. Now what am I going to do for my down payment? How do we answer that?
well, surprise, surprise. Earnest money actually goes towards down payment. It's funny because I've got a contract right now where they put down a large sum. It's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They put down a big chunk of change, and then they're like, well, that should be all the funds we need for closing. Like, no. But that covers the whole down payment. That does cover your whole down payment, but it doesn't cover your down payment and closing costs. And then I have another transaction I was talking with someone else on where they put $10,000 down earnest money, but they want theirs back at closing.
What?
That's not how that works either.
Yeah, that's not how. Yeah.
Anyway, this is all earnest money conversation.
Yeah,
so.
your earnest money is going to be contributed to the down payment of the home. It doesn't go to the seller. It doesn't go to the lender.
It doesn't go to the agent.
It doesn't go to the agent.
Everybody thinks it goes to our pockets. It does not go to our pockets.
It goes toward your purchase of the home. And if it exceeds the amount that you would need for closing costs, then it will, it will be applied at title, and it all kind of mixes together at the title table.
Yeah, and if in fact you did give too much earnest money, title would then refund it to you. So like I used to do back in the day when you had seller paid closing costs, I would do 0 down transactions where in fact the buyer came in with nothing, but they still needed earnest money. So they put down their $5,000 earnest money, I put the house under contract, I do 100% financing, sellers pay closing costs, at closing they get all their earnest money back.
Wow.
That was fun.
That is fun.
Maybe
when was the last time you did that?
No.
I can't remember.
It
3 years probably.
A little while.
Yeah, longer than 3 years probably.
I can't hit on how important this is to know these numbers and the closing costs with the down payments and how those are different, and then understanding where all those come from. This should not be a surprise. One, when you get your settlement statement or your CD, that shouldn't be like, oh shoot. Yeah. Okay. Another big one is if you're doing a new construction, this is something to stay in touch with the lender, because you got pre-qualified 9 months ago. Jason, what has happened right now from people who were pre-qualified 9 months ago?
Oh, not much. Your interest rate just went up about 2 points.
Oh, you mean it almost doubled from where you were pre-qualified at? Okay, so now that cash to close did what? You had to go sell a few of your kids in order to now buy your house.
Or kidneys, either one.
Because, and I had the client where they came in from a cash, when they were pre-qualified, it was $42,000. 3 weeks before they were supposed to move in, their lender, out of the blue, doesn't even call them, sends them their new thing and says, hey, we're ready to go ahead and close. Your cash to close, $86,000.
It's no big deal. That's
wow.
Fine, right?
You have 3 weeks or you lose your house.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yes. The buyers, they did get their house, but they had to, I don't know how they got their money, but they did. But that was one thing that they said, I wish we would have stayed in touch with the lender during the process. Your agent and lenders need to be working together consistently.
So what did we learn?
Well, my key takeaway is that earnest money is part of your down payment, which is not the same as your closing costs.
Yeah, there's different sets of money that go into transaction, closing costs, prepaids, earnest money deposits, construction deposits. All these summed up are cash to close.
Remember that all these numbers need to be understood prior to going looking at homes and putting offers in, because it will change completely on what we're making an offer for you on.
Do you realize that 8 out of 7 Americans don't understand the difference between closing costs, prepaids, and cash to close?
It's probably more like 10 out of 7.
Don't let this happen to you.
If you want to get in touch with us, shoot us a text at 801-228-7687. Make sure you mention the show. You can email us at theutahrealestateshow@gmail.com. You can watch this show on YouTube, and you can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you learned something, or if you really love this show, give us a like on YouTube and drop a rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. The Utah Real Estate Show is a production of Hive Collective at Presidio Real Estate, with support from Security Home Mortgage. The NMLS number for Security Home Mortgage is 178787. The NMLS number for Jason Christiansen is 240472, Equal Housing Lender. Not only is this not legal or investment advice, but you should definitely talk to a pro before you make any real estate decision. Every situation is different and should be considered in context. Copyright Jason Christiansen, Eric Wist, and Tyler Kazare. All rights reserved. Talk to you next week.
Don't do that. No, stop it. Stop doing that.
Yeah. Wait.
There's more. Roll it.
Just check it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah!
Oh! I totally hit Jason in the back of the head with
okay.
my overthrow. Hello and welcome to another. Seriously.
You said
Seriously.
we were doing an in first.
That wasn't too bad.
Go.
Let's do that.
Okay, wait. So go ahead and start, and I'll define. Try not to touch your thing.
Did you get that?
Yeah. What? What was that?
I don't know.
Statistics show that 8 out of 7 Americans don't understand.
Jason says it way better.
Come on, that was
No,
it was
no,
like
no.
a news.
I liked it.
No, Jason's voice when his whole Sarah McLachlan voice over here. Yeah, it's like you're saying. People starving. You can't get there.
That was awesome. I liked that.